Nobody ever asks me if I'm okay. And before you say, well, are you? That's not really what this video is about. Because sometimes it's not about someone finally asking, it's about realizing they never did. Have you ever noticed how people only check on you after something breaks? After you disappear? After you stop replying? After you stop laughing? And when you become a different person? Only then people start wondering what happened, in my opinion. But what if someone never reaches that point? What if they're really good at pretending? Some people cry, some people scream, and some ask for help. And then there are people who get really good at smiling. The kind of smile that's convincing enough for everyone else, but exhausting for the person wearing it. You know what's funny? People always say, you can talk to me whenever, but somehow you never feel like you actually can, because everyone says it, very few people prove it. I've started noticing something. Whenever someone asks, how are you, they're usually already walking away before you answer. It's become a greeting, not a question. Nobody actually expects the real answer. Imagine if you responded with, honestly, I've been struggling for months. Most people wouldn't even know what to say, not because they're bad people, but because nobody teaches us how to sit with someone else's pain. So we learn something instead. We learn to say, I'm good, even when we are not, especially when we are not. At some point, I'm okay stops becoming a lie. It becomes muscle memory. You don't even think anymore. Someone asks, you smile, I'm fine. Automatic, like breathing. The weird part is after saying it enough times, even you start believing it. Until one random night, everything you've ignored for months shows up all at once, and suddenly you're lying awake at 2 a.m. in the morning thinking about things you never gave yourself time to feel. It's strange how loud silence becomes. During the day, life distracts you: school, work, games, friends, video, music, notifications. Everything is fighting for your attention. But at night, it's just you and your thoughts. Those are the conversations nobody hears. The ones where you're arguing with yourself, wondering if you're good enough, wondering if anyone would notice if you stopped talking first, wondering why you're always the one reaching out and if people like you, or if they just like having someone around. I think everyone has wondered that at least once. Some just never admit it. There's this pressure now to seem happy. You open social media, everyone's traveling, succeeding, everyone is in love, everyone has friends, everyone looks like they're living the perfect life. Meanwhile, you're sitting in your room, wondering why you feel so empty, even though nothing terrible actually happened, or maybe it did. And the confusing part is sometimes sadness doesn't need reasons. Sometimes loneliness isn't caused by being alone. Sometimes you're surrounded by people and still feel invisible. I've been in rooms where I've never felt more alone. Not because anyone was mean, not because anyone excluded me, just because nobody really knew me. There's a difference between being included and being understood. You can have hundreds of conversations every week without ever feeling heard. I think that's what people miss. Loneliness isn't measured by how people are around you, it's measured by how many people actually know what's going inside your head. For some people, that number is zero. And maybe that's because they stopped letting people in, not because they wanted to. Because every time they tried, it felt like becoming a burden. So eventually they stopped talking. Not all at once, little by little. It's funny when someone is always helping out everyone else, people assume they're doing great because they seem strong, reliable, and calm. The person everyone goes to for advice, the one who somehow always know how to say, but nobody ever talks to check on them? Who notices when they're tired? Maybe nobody. Maybe because everyone assumes someone else probably already did. There's this invisible role some people fall into. The therapist, the friend zone guy, the listener, the dependable one, the person who never complains. And after a while, we forget we are humans too. Being the strong one sounds nice until you realize strong people still break. They just do it quietly. Maybe that's why some people don't ask, because from the outside you look perfectly fine. Maybe that's not the real strategy. Not that people don't care, but because the people who are hurting the most have become experts at making it look like they're not. You know what's strange? Most people don't wake up one morning and decide, I'm never going to tell anyone how I feel again. It happens slowly, and one conversation, one disappointment at a time, one moment where you finally gather the courage to open up, only to hear you'll be fine, or other people have it worse, or maybe the worst one, you're just overthinking it. Maybe they didn't mean any harm, but maybe they genuinely wanted to help. But sometimes all someone needs is for another person to stay, to listen, to not immediately try to solve anything, because not every battle is looking for a solution. Sometimes it's just someone willing to stand beside it. After enough experiences like that, I started thinking, maybe I should keep it to myself and that's it. Not because I've healed, because I've learned silence feels safer. And silence is dangerous, not because it's loud, but because nobody notices it. You stop mentioning you're tired. You stop talking about what's been on your mind, or stop explaining why you've been distant. Eventually, people stop asking, because from their perspective, everything seems normal. But inside, you are carrying conversations that never happened, answers to questions nobody asked, and apologies you've never needed to make. Arguments that only exist in your head. Your mind becomes a place that's impossible to leave. Have you ever stared at a phone like me, waiting for a notification, not because you're bored, but because you're hoping someone remembered you, someone truly loves you? And every time the screen lights up, it's just another app, another promotion, another meaningless notification, not the person you hoped for. It sounds small, but after a while, those little moments start adding up, and you begin asking yourself questions you've never asked before. Like, if I disappeared for a week, who would text first? Who would notice? Who would... And would anyone wonder where I went? The scary thing is that sometimes you already think you know the answer. You convince yourself you're forgettable, replaceable, just another name in someone else's contact list. Someone they'll eventually stop thinking about. And maybe that's not true. Maybe your brain is lying to you. But when you're alone with your thoughts long enough, those lies start sounding like facts. I've realized something. Overthinking isn't really about thinking too much. It's about trying to find certainty where there isn't any. Someone replies a little later than usual. Your brain says they're mad at you. Someone seems quieter. You did something wrong. Someone leaves you on red. Maybe they don't want to be around you anymore. Reality, maybe they're just busy. Maybe they fell asleep. Maybe their phone died. Maybe they're dealing with something you know nothing about. In my case, about me. But your mind never chooses the peaceful explanation first. It chooses the one that hurts. That's what anxiety does. After enough time, you stop trusting your own thoughts. You don't know what's real anymore. And you don't know if people actually dislike you or if you're just convinced to it. So instead you become quieter, safer. You stop sending the first message. You stop asking to hang out. You stop telling people you miss them. Not because you don't, but because you're terrified they won't accept you, or because they don't miss you back. It's always how many friendships don't end because of one big argument, like me and my best friend. They end because two people keep waiting for the other one to text first. Days become weeks, weeks become months, and eventually you're strangers. Not because either you wanted to be, because silence won. At some point, you stop wondering if people care, and you start wondering who you even are anymore. Because when you spend so much time trying to be what everyone else needs, you slowly forget what you need. You become the friend that's always available, the one who replies instantly, the one who remembers birthdays, and the one who checks in first, the one who says, "Don't worry, I'm here," again and again and again. Until one day you realize you can't remember the last time someone said those words to you. It's not that you expect people to read your mind. You don't. You just wonder if someone notices, if someone sees the cracks, or if someone can tell that your smile has become a little harder to hold. The strange thing is most people probably don't, not because they're selfish, because everyone's carrying something. The cashier who smiled at you, the teacher who seemed laughing, the guy laughing the loudest in the room, the friend who always says they're good. You never really know what's happening behind someone's eyes, and somehow we've all gotten pretty good at pretending. I think that's one of the loneliest parts of growing up. You realize everyone is fighting battles and they don't talk about it, and somehow that doesn't make your own feel any lighter. You know what hurts the most is not losing people. Sometimes it's watching yourself disappear. You stop doing the things you loved. You stop laughing as much. You stop getting excited over little things. Songs don't hit the same. Games don't feel the same. Even your favorite places start feeling unfamiliar. It's like you're living in your own life as a spectator. You're there, you're moving, you're talking, you're smiling, but something feels missing. People call it being tired, burnt out, unmotivated, but sometimes it's more than that. Sometimes it's you've been surviving for so long that you forgot what living actually feels like. Days start blending together. Wake up, school, work, home, scroll, sleep, and repeat. Every day looks exactly like the last, and somewhere in the middle of that, you lose track of time. Weeks disappear, months disappear. Then one afternoon, you catch your reflection in a window and think, when did I become this person? Maybe nobody else notices, but you do. You notice the quieter version of yourself, the one who doesn't speak as much, the one who thinks twice before saying anything, the one who constantly is wondering if they're annoying, if they talk too much, if they talk too little, if they belong there at all. It's exhausting, always feeling like you have to earn your place, like if you stop for 1 second, everyone will move without you. So you keep trying. You become funnier, kinder, more helpful, more understanding, more patient. You apologize for things that weren't even your fault. You shrink yourself just enough to fit into everyone's expectations, until one day you realize you spent so much energy become something everyone likes that you no longer recognize yourself. And that's terrifying, because nobody tells you that losing yourself doesn't happen all at once. It happens in tiny pieces. One fake smile, one swallowed emotion, one sentence you wanted to say but didn't, over and over and over again. Then something strange happens. You stop expecting people to understand. Not because they couldn't, but because you've convinced yourself it wouldn't matter anyway. So instead of saying, I've been struggling, you say, I'm just tired. Instead of saying, I feel alone, you say, I've just been busy. If instead of saying, I need someone, you say, nothing. Silence becomes your default language, and maybe that's why nobody asks if you're fine. Maybe because you've mastered the art of looking fine. But here's something I've learned. Even if it took me a long time to believe it, the fact that you've been carrying all of this alone doesn't mean you weren't meant to. Maybe that's what everyone has been trying to say the whole time. Not that nobody cares, not that the world is against you or that everyone will leave, because that isn't true. Sometimes people don't ask because they don't know. Sometimes they assume you're okay because you've never given them a reason to think otherwise. Not because they don't care, but because you've become incredibly good at convincing yourself, including everyone and you. And I know that's easier said than changed. Opening up is scary. It feels like handing someone a part of you that hurts the most and hoping they don't drop it. Sometimes they will, sometimes they'll say the wrong thing, sometimes they won't understand, and that hurts. But every once in a while, someone surprises you. Someone listens, really listens, not to respond, not to fix you, just to understand. Those people exist. Maybe there are many, but one is enough. Sometimes one person can remind you that the world isn't as empty as it felt yesterday. I've spent a lot of time thinking that asking for someone's help meant I was weak, that needing people somehow made me less independent, less capable, less me. But I've realized something. We never judge other people for needing someone, only ourselves. If your best friend called you at 3 in the morning and said, "I don't think I'm okay," you wouldn't tell them they were a burden. You wouldn't tell them to deal with it alone. You'd stay, you'd listen, you'd do everything you could. So why is it so hard to believe someone would do the same for you? Because we are always on our harshest critic. We forgive everyone else, we understand everyone else, but ourselves, we expect perfection. We expect strength, we expect silence. Maybe it's time we stopped. Maybe strength was never about carrying everything alone. Maybe strength is finally admitting that you're tired, that you're hurting, and saying it anyway. I don't know who's watching this. Maybe you're having the best year of your life. Or maybe you're sitting in your room late at night with this video playing in the background, hoping someone understands you and understands something you've never been able to explain. If that's you, I'm glad you're still here. I'm really glad. But because here's the truth. The world is better with you in it. Not because you have to achieve something incredible, not because you have to become famous or perfect or successful, but because there has never been another person who has lived your exact life. Nobody has your memories, your mistakes, your dreams, your way of making someone laugh, your voice, your perspective. If you disappeared, those things would disappear too. Whether you believe it or not, they matter. You matter. Maybe nobody asked you if you're okay today. Maybe they didn't yesterday either. Maybe they won't tomorrow. But that doesn't mean your feelings aren't real. It doesn't mean they aren't worth talking about. It doesn't mean you have to keep carrying everything by yourself. And maybe this video can be the question you've never got. So, how are you? Not the automatic answer, not the one you've practiced, the real one, the answer you usually keep to yourself. You don't have to tell me. You don't have to tell anyone tonight. But maybe be honest with yourself for once. If you've been pretending, it's okay to admit you're exhausted. If you've been caring too much, it's okay to put some of it down. If you've been waiting for someone to notice, maybe this is your reminder that you don't have to wait forever before reaching out. One message, one person you trust, one conversation. Sometimes that's where everything starts to change. Not overnight, not all at once, just one step. And if nobody has told you this recently, I hope you hear it now. I'm glad you're still here. I hope tomorrow is a little lighter than today. I hope one day you don't have to pretend anymore, and I hope that when finally someone asks, "Are you okay?" you feel safe enough to tell them the truth. Until then, take care of yourself, because you deserve the same kindness that you've spent so long giving everyone else. And maybe just maybe the next time someone asks you, how are you, you'll remember that it's okay not to say, I'm fine. Thank you for listening.